listening to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all the latest news, Overwatch League results, and mishaps in Overwatch. Here are your hosts, Totemly Drunk and Edinar.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things Overwatch. I am your host, Tumbly Drunk, and tonight on episode 201, we're going to be taking a look at the most recent news around the game and its competitive scene before we update you on the status of the Overwatch League. So before we get into the news and introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show, and of course I have to thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So back with me yet again, as always, is my co-host Edinar. And Ed, I know you've had a pretty busy week. We just got off of a Monday celebration of episode 200 this past week alongside Multisword. So, quick shout out to everyone who sent in messages, who swung by for our live show this past week. But I know you're a little under the weather, so outside of that.
And not what everyone's saying when not making that joke, because I legit have heard that for 2 days straight at my job.
Right. So,
but I apologize ahead of time if I don't mute myself in time for coffee.
There you go. So outside of the coffin fits, how's the week been treating you?
It's been pretty good. It was kind of a weird week. I was on a vacation. More like my family came home and I spent the week with them, hanging out with my family, nieces, nephews, stuff like that. So I was with them all week. So I didn't really go anywhere. It was more like hanging out with family for like 5-6 days, which was a lot of fun. I didn't get to see the matches. I got to watch some of them with no volume on, so I just watched them on my laptop. But yeah, it's been good. I miss gaming. I haven't played many games. The only stuff I've been able to play is Hearthstone, because it's the only thing that runs on my laptop, because I have a Mac. So all other games are basically useless on it. So yeah, it's been fun. I'm ready to get over this sickness, which I slowly am. I'm getting the after sick coughs at this point, and that's annoying. So how's your week been?
It's kind of been low key. I had a lot of stuff going on over the weekend, so unfortunately I wasn't able to catch too many of the games live. Sunday there was Elimination Chamber, so I was watching that. Kind of like after the fact as well. Just a lot of stuff happening all at once, and it's kind of been like that for 2 straight weeks. So, hopefully things are going to slow down a little bit on that front. So before we jump into the news really quick, just as a reminder, we do have a game night coming up on Saturday, March 21st. That'll be starting at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So be sure to hop into our Discord, join the game night lobby, and, we'll see you there for a night of community Overwatch games. And hopefully we'll have enough for a lobby. If not, we could just do our typical shenanigery and just dig around in quick play or arcade, whichever.
Yeah, definitely come out there for that. I think I can make this one. I think it's going to be close, depending on where I'm at moving-wise, because I am moving at the end of this month because I'm closing on a new place. So, hopefully I can make it. Fingers el crosto.
There you go. So moving into the Overwatch news for this week, we actually had a patch that dropped this past week, and it did include our second look at the experimental mode. So again, for those that missed the first go around of this, we basically saw triple damage team compositions taking the center stage, and this week's offering brings us back to 2-2-2, along with a few balance changes along with it. Now, I will say some of these balance updates were already on the PTR. It's about like half and half in regards to new and then old. So when it comes to the new changes that were added to this mode, they made it so Bob is immune to sleep. For Baptiste, they looked at the Exo Boots charge time and reduced that from 1 second to 0.7 seconds. And then his regenerative burst cooldown was lowered from 15 to 13 seconds. They also increased the primary fire damage for Irissa from 10 to 11. And then the Sigma Gravitic Flux flight speed was increased by 30%. And then the last new addition to the lot being Sombra's primary fire spread was decreased by 10%. Now, we did see stuff carry over from the PTR, so that would include the Diva booster cooldown being bumped from 3 to 4 seconds. That also included May's Ice Wall cooldown being increased from 10 to 13 seconds, as well as the Sigma Gravitic Flux alt cost being reduced by 10%. And then finally, the Soldier 76 Helix Rockets cooldown being bumped down from 8 seconds to 6 seconds. So kind of like half and half in regards to new and, old stuff that we had seen already on the PTR. And, I thought it was interesting. Like, it's a pretty healthy mix in regards to DPS support and also damage. It wasn't just heavy-handed in, like, the tanks like it was for the whole 3-2-1 experiment with the triple damage. And I'm curious to see whether or not we're going to continue to see this kind of split when it comes to things that we've seen on the PTR, basically not necessarily like getting patched to like the main game, because obviously it's just in this mode. But I want to see if there's going to be any sort of consistency where they're going to have like more of the experiment stuff and then have that additive to the things that they were already currently working on implementing to the game.
Yeah, this is what I actually thought the experimental mode was going to be in the first place. More like a testing thing out, because all the stuff that got put into this experimental mode, I'm just like, yeah, I could see all of this being live. None of it's crazy. Like, people may think that the Bob change is crazy, but I mean, you're basically buffing her ult and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
So an ult that isn't up all the time, you're just buffing that by having one of the hard counters for one person's ultimate become non-existent. Like, that's not a massive buff. It's a nice buff, but it's not massive. So like, this is all stuff that I could see them being in like 2 weeks. Yeah, be like, yeah, no, we're putting this in game. This is all stuff that I is not out of line, because like you look at the Ashe thing with Bob, the Baptiste one. I like the fact that they gave Baptiste more self-healing, because that was probably Baptiste's biggest weakness, is he could heal everyone around, but he couldn't heal himself, except with this regenerative. Diva, all right, that sucks. May, screw her. Orisa, I think Orisa needed a buff back to previous damage because of the shield nerfs. Sigma's in a bad place right now, so messing with the ults. Soldier, that's a good move for Soldier. And Sombra, I'm fine with it. Like, all of this is pretty good changes. This is what I want to see more of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to see more experimental mode being PTR changes and seeing how it works with actual people playing it. So, now will people be testing it out? Probably not, because Call of Duty's Warzone's out there right now.
I mean, who plays Battle Royale games?
I do from time to time. Like, half of Twitch right now is.
So, here's the thing on that front. I remember when Blackout came out. And, everyone was really hyped about it, and they're like, oh, great, COD has a BR game. And then they played it, and then they're like, oh, this sucks. And then no one was playing it after a week.
Yeah.
We'll see if that's going to be the same case.
I will say this, and I know we're talking Overwatch, but I will say this about Warzone. It's very unique, and it has a lot of cool things about it that you don't see in other BRs.
Okay.
Like, it has side quests. Like, you can pick up bounties on people. and then it shows you on the map where they are, like
Hmm.
on other teams. You can go out and you collect cash, and then you can buy stuff. Like you can buy like a sonar kit or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you die, you go to the gulag, which means it's like a prison gulag, and you 1v1 somebody else, and if you win, you revive.
Okay.
And you can, there's fall damage, and it's realistic. Like, okay, in every other BR game you can climb over this fence. Well, in this game you can't. Now it also has downfalls to it. It is very 100, and the matches are a long time because it's 150 people.
Oh damn.
So if you've ever played Apex, that's 60. This is 150. So the map is gigantic. And the weapons can be a little tricky to go back and forth because they have a lot of those and stuff like that. But it's actually not that bad. Now, will it overtake Apex or Fortnite? No, it won't. But it's still fun. But here's the other thing. You know how big it is to download? If you don't have Call of Duty downloaded right now, it's 86 gigabytes. Because you have to download all of Call of Duty. Then you have to download this.
Ouch.
So it's 85 gigs to download this free game. So
that's a yikes from me, Doc. But anyways, getting back to the balance changes that we have in experimental mode, I thought the Sombra one was pretty interesting because we have started to see a lot of dive compositions coming to the forefront here as of late, and being able to be a little bit more concise whenever you are trying to basically one-clip someone. This can definitely come into play, and we have seen a ton of like Sombra Tracer, or at times Sombra getting paired with a couple of other DPS heroes as well. So just finalizes more kills, not only for Sombra, but as well as Soldier with the Helix Rocket cooldown reduction on that front. So I haven't had a chance to really check this one out as of yet. Actually, I haven't even used the experimental card at all since it got implemented.
You never played 3-2-1?
No, I did not.
I think that universally was like, yeah, no, nobody wants this. Yeah, no, we're good. We're good without this.
See, this one is more understandable because like these are changes I can actually see getting like patched through. So I'm more likely to test out this one as opposed to just one of the wackier concepts.
Yeah, this isn't a wacky arcade mode style. This is like realistic shit. And the thing is that I really want this Bob thing to go through because it would make Ash very viable. Not overpowered, but very viable. Because, I mean, in all honesty, that is the ultimate bunker breakup. If you can't sleep it, what do you have to do? You have to frickin' run or turn your shields. So, yeah, I really hope that change goes through.
So not only do we have this new experiment card, we also have the new season of competitive, that being season 21 kicking off with this patch as well. So this is the season that starts our first look at hero pools on ladder. So, looking back, the first heroes that were banned were Mei, Orisa, Hanzo, and Baptiste. Kind of curious, 3 of those heroes got changes in regards to the experimental card. I wonder if there's going to be any correlation in regards to that moving forward as well. But, luckily, Mr. X wasn't the one to make the draw, so Mei just got banned outright. So we don't have to worry about that.
Screw Mei. Burn in hell, Mei. Burn in hell.
Dev team should have went through with the Overwatch 2 cinematic. It was right there.
Let her die. You have the opportunity to let Mei die.
So for those, so for those that are wondering, the hero pools that we're gonna have in ranked are gonna differ vastly from the ones that we are seeing in the competitive scene, with the pros using a completely different set of bans. And I will note on that side, like there's been a lot of discussion about ladder bans versus the pro bans, where a lot of the pros have not been happy about the way that they're doing ladder bans, primarily because it's impacting heroes that they would be practicing on that given week for pro play. And, there was also the discussion of, well, like, Open Division, and, like, contenders were running on something completely different, and then that got changed, so now Open Division is running the same ban system as, like, the Overwatch League, so that's more cohesive on that end. But, a lot of the pro players are just looking at it like, well, let's say Reinhardt was banned. Oh, well, now I can't play Orisa. But it still leaves them Winston in this regard. But it was just more so the fact that it was limiting their options as opposed to being the most effective way in order for them to prep for basically the week ahead, at least on the pro side of things.
Yeah, on the pro side of things, yeah, it was a nice change of pace. They were left with Winston at least. Let's just say that. At least he still had Winston,
who was the primary tank this past week.
Yes. And lo and behold, who gets banned? Winston. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Zoe. You ruined it for everyone. But I think everyone assumed it'd be Winston, because beforehand everyone was kind of predicting dives this past weekend. Mm-hmm. Like dive meta. Not dive meta with Tracer Soldier, though. I don't think that was what people were really expecting. I don't think many people are like, who's going to be awesome? Soldier 76.
It's like, well, they banned 2 hit scan. There's more hit scan in play.
Yeah, he sucks. But we got another hit scan. Even who thought that Soldier is better than Ashe? Blasphemy. But yeah, we got to see some dive. I'm interested to see. It's hard for me to judge hero pools when you're only seeing a few matches of it. In this case, which we'll get into, we might not see this hero pool at all, this next hero pool at all, because there might not be matches this weekend. So on and so forth. So, I don't know. I like it so far. I will say that. I do like it so far. Mm-hmm. From a fantasy perspective and from a pick'em perspective, it's atrocious.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
It is atrocious. Because you have no, like, there's no way I could pick anybody on New York Excelsior's DPS roster coming into this week. Because I'm like, I got nothing. I got no idea who's playing. Mm-hmm. And, when we definitely saw that with a lot of teams. You're just like, I got nothing. Like, you knew Carpe was playing. That was really about it. We even saw crazy things like EQO playing Brig Jail.
Back in jail.
Even
you
still.
Can never escape.
Yeah, so from that perspective, it's atrocious. But from like a spectator point of view, I like this. And the one knock I will have on hero pools is, to me, it does not signify at the end of the year who's the best team is. Because it can be who's the best team who happen to play on strong patch or hero pools that they're stronger at. Mm-hmm. Like, that is how I see it. Like, we had Houston play this past weekend, and they did well. They beat Paris 3-0. Paris beat Philly 3-2. Like, and in this pool, who knows? Maybe Houston was better than Philly. But I don't think anybody's saying Philadelphia is worse than Houston overall.
Well, the Houston fans are trying to do that.
Well, the Houston fans are generally idiots. But I mean, you can't get, if not all teams are playing every week, or at least the vast majority every week, then you can't pick a team and be like, okay, you're the best teams at the end, because, well, how do we know? we haven't seen the Chengdu Hunters.
Yeah,
we
because
haven't
realistically,
seen Seoul.
you're seeing like 4 to like 7 teams on a
Yeah.
given week.
Like this weekend, if matches go off, which oh, hold on. Oh yeah, they did. I can't even see. I'm on the Overwatch League site right now.
They removed
If
the
you
schedule.
go to their schedule, week 6 through 12 is empty now.
Right.
So
So
they don't even have any matches up.
Well, we'll get to that soon. So getting back to like the latter side when it comes to hero pools, how do you feel like this is going to impact basically when you're actually playing competitive? Do you feel like this is going to want you to step into competitive more? Is this going to be a situation where you're going to go in each week, see who's banned, and then basically go like a week-to-week basis on whether or not you're actually going to play, depending on if like a counter pick against like one of your stronger heroes is banned? You know, situations like that.
I'm not at the level where this even matters to me.
It's
Like,
true.
let's be real. Like, unless you're high end, these hero pools really aren't affecting you all that much. Because unless you're going in with 6 stacks and you try and run meta every time, but everyone's still in, gold. Like, you are basically not going in every time with the Reinhardt, Diva, May, McCree, Lucio, and Baptiste comps. Like, you're not running in with those. So this will not affect 90% plus of the players. But I still like it. It doesn't hurt anything because, I'm not a one trick. So, like, I won't only play one hero. Now, granted, it might, for certain instances, it might sway me off of playing support, let's say. So, like, let's say, I only play really, 2, maybe 3 support. My main one being, Moira. I know, everyone, shut up. But, let's say Moira's banned. I'm okay at Baptiste, and I'm okay at Ana. I'm not good at Zen. I'm not good at Lucio. Maybe I won't go in there because, I'll be going in underperforming. Because I finished last season in gold and support. Finished in gold and something. And, I can't perform Zen or, whatever, Lucio at a gold level, I don't think. So it may do something like that, but it won't stop me from playing comp.
Right.
At all.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that whenever they do implement the next week worth of bans, that Reinhardt will be included in that, primarily just because there's been a lot of shenanery involving his charge, and it's just clipping things that it shouldn't. Where all of a sudden, you're moving forward, and then something stops you that isn't even there in your path, and then you basically come to a screeching halt at that point. So, this is happening a lot with different walls when it comes to inclines as well. It just ends up clipping Reinhardt, and it's gotten to the point now where, I don't want to say it makes Reinhardt unplayable, but it really makes it hard to get that value out of charge unless it's a completely flat surface and there's nothing around you at this point. Now, the downside to this is, this bug has, made its way into this recent patch, but it hasn't been put in the known issues in regards to the developer thread. So we don't know what the ETA is going to be in regards to whenever this bug is going to be addressed and fixed. So I think this is substantial enough where, maybe they'll ban Reinhardt this upcoming week because of that, so they can take a look at it and just, try to, hotfix this one. But it has been a very big nuisance for a lot of Reinhardt players out there. And I remember watching XQC streaming Overwatch, and this was happening a lot on... I think they were on Hollywood, and they were in the saloon phase, in the streets, and he kept getting clipped on these banisters that weren't even like right beside him. And it's just like, well, now he's just feeding essentially because he's basically coming to a stop. Shield is down, and then he's just susceptible at that point.
Yeah, I mean, wait, XQC raged against something? Shocker. This is something that's gonna get hot fixed now that it's not supposed to happen. It's a known issue. It's out there. If it takes more than a week to fix, I'd be surprised. So we had this happen with a bunch of other characters. Like, I can just think of the Reaper getting into places he's not supposed to, type of like bug fixes we saw for 2 months straight. So yeah, this is an annoying one. I don't think it would prevent me from playing Reinhardt, because, well, let's be real. If I get stopped by an imaginary staircase, it's not my downfall as a tank. But yeah, it'd be annoying as hell. I will say that.
Absolutely. So hopefully they'll get around to that. But let's go ahead and shift gears and see what's going on around the league. So, in what is one of the more bizarre stories, there was a recent talk with Elk. And this was like on a vast stream, and he was, trying to like tell this story about like what exactly happened to Snillo, who was on the Philadelphia Fusion. So basically, Elk is telling it like this. So basically, Elk gets to the Fusion team house, and he asks, where's Snillo? And the Fusion basically weren't able to get a hold of Snillo for several months. And, this is a DPS player who didn't return to play at the start of the second season of the Overwatch League. And basically, Elk's like, well, Snillo has basically gone MIA for several months. And apparently he had been living in a cabin in the woods collecting mushrooms. So he had been living in the forest in Sweden with his grandmother. And, I was like, wait, so, okay. That's why we didn't see him? Poor EQO, man, was stuck in Brig Jail forever. And here you have Snillo just collecting shrooms over in the forest and just living off of that. Like, it's just, what? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's... like... What? Like, and the best part was he told somebody with Fusion back in 2018 that that's what he was going to do. And they're like, we don't know if they took him serious or not. And, like, now I get, mushrooming can be lucrative if you're going for, like, truffles. Like, if you're going truffles
and or psychedelics.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. So maybe that's what he was going for? I don't know. But this is one of those things that you would get from a Vast.
Mm-hmm. My initial reaction to this was like, why I hope there's not any wolves nearby. I mean, we've already seen this kind of play out.
Wasn't thinking that, but now I am.
I mean, his grandmother lives in the woods. I mean, come on.
Fair.
But at the end of the day, given the current circumstances and events that are going on right now, maybe living in the woods isn't that bad of an idea.
Right? Like, maybe he's onto something here. You don't hear people in the upper Wisconsin complaining about the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. Probably because they don't have electricity, so they don't hear about this stuff until it's printed in their paper 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Kind of like how in the Middle East they still are listening to Michael Jackson's new album.
Mm-hmm. So in other news, this one, not so much WTF news. We got a couple of updates out of the Boston Uprising, who actually went out and picked up a another main support player, Halo, who was formerly on Triumph. Prior to that, he was competing with Second Wind and also the Shock Academy team, Energy Esports. So on Triumph, Halo helped them qualify for the first North America Contenders Tournament of this current year. And, on occasion, I know he had been helping out the Shock when it comes to their scrimmages as well. So, when I first heard about this, I was like, oh, what's this going to mean for a swimmer? This could be trouble. And then we actually already saw that come into play this past weekend, because Halo comes in and starts immediately. And I know this definitely burnt me in Fantasy Overwatch League this weekend. That was a feels bad, man. But, it looks like, at least for now, Halo's the immediate starter. So I want to see whether or not moving forward, this is going to be on a primarily Lucio basis, because Halo is mostly known for his Lucio, or if they'll do a split where Halo will be on Lucio in situations where Lucio is banned, which he is in the next hero pool ban for the Overwatch League. Maybe that means we'll see Swimmer coming back on the Mercy. I don't know, but either way, it's very hard to feel confident in regards to Fantasy, knowing which one of these players is going to get the nod. But, Halo, it's hard to gauge where he was this past week just because, Boston kind of got shat on, if we're being serious. So we need to see a more even match to really see how he compares to not only Swimmer, his opposition, but also the rest of the main supports in the league.
Yeah, I don't know how permanent this is. And it's also Boston. So we don't know really what they have up their sleeve because they've done so much ass-backward stuff that, it's one of those things where you can't guess what they're going to do.
Well, it's also a situation where they haven't fared that well, so it's like, well, how much can this really hurt?
Yes. Yeah, no, it's not like they're all of a sudden going through the roof here.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of thing they do. It was smart of them to bring in another main support, though, with hero pools. I think having another main support so you don't have to have your Lucio also play your Mercy, and stuff like that if they're not as strong. So it seems like a good idea. And a smart move by Boston because whichever one does better, that they can just trade off.
Right.
That's what they do. But that's not the only Boston player that had issues, right?
No, we also had some changes on the tank line after Fusions had stepped in for Axiom, who is currently on a leave of absence from the team due to needing a medical procedure. Now, we don't really know any sort of specific details in regards to, what is ailing him or what the length of his departure is going to be. So with that being said, Fusions was starting main tank for the Uprising this past weekend. Of course, paired with that, you had their rookie off tank, Mufin, getting the nod as well. So that's going to be basically your primary duo moving forward, and, whether they're running double barrier or, keeping Mufin on the D.Va, at least he's going to be able to, cover that spot should they want to run Orisa or even D.Va in this case.
Yeah, it's kind of going to be a toss-up of who they're going to use, obviously. Fusions or Axiom. I don't know how long Axiom's going to go out, but I think they found their off-tank for the future because you are able to run that double shield with Muffins on Sigma. Now, is that ideal? Probably not, but who says that even if, let's say, Sigma's banned, they want to run permanently, Ryan Orisa? Who says they want to go that way? Because Muffin has actually performed pretty well as the D.Va, and just as the off-tank in general. And he's their dog man. He's like the the rah rah, let's get crazy kind of player on the team, and people love him, and Jerry. Um, but I think once Axiom comes back, it's gonna be kind of a week by week thing with who starts based on what tank is banned. To see who performs better with them. I don't know who. Probably Axiom might be better on Winston than Fusions, because Fusions is more of a Reinhardt player. But who knows what we'll get? It's Boston, but and I think they were scheduled to play this weekend originally,
Right.
But maybe not.
Yeah, things right now are up in the air. You know, we kind of like went through the normal ordeal. You know, we had our weekend matches. We drew the hero pool. That would have been in play for week 6. So you know, just to cover that really quick. You know, when Overwatch League returns, which we'll talk about that here in just a minute. The banned heroes that we have for DPS were Soldier 76 and Sombra. And you know, Ed, like, Soldier comes out one time and he gets yanked immediately.
Mm-hmm.
What
That's
the
the way
hell?
to do it, though. That's the way to go about it.
But yet,
I mean,
Mei is here all the time, and we can't get her drawn.
Exactly. And like, we're basically going back to what the composition was prior to hero pools at this point. And this is something that I saw as a concern that we're going to get from time to time is, all right, you're going to get rid of one meta for 1 week.
Right.
And then you're just going to get it back the following week.
Potentially. It's basically a matter of how many eligible heroes are at that 10% threshold, because you know, right now we've primarily been seeing like 3 or 4 on average, but once we get to like 5 or 6, I feel like that's gonna, you know, lessen the chances more and more as we continue moving forward. But you know, it was kind of sad to see Soldier yanked, but you know, looking at the bans, we're primarily honestly probably gonna see more Widow, Mei, McCree, like we did in that first month. So obviously this past week, a ton of dive, and with that comes a ban of Winston and Lucio. Now the Lucio one's probably the most interesting, because, well, there's no speed boost. There are a lot of Reddit Lucios in the league this year. I mean, FD God definitely comes to mind on that front. Sanguinar has been an absolute madman with the environmental kills as well. And, you know, we were seeing, like, a lot of, like, Briggs and Yada. We saw a good amount of Anna this past week as well. So we could see some different iterations there. But it seemed like Zenyatta was primarily favored for the Discord Orb. And then you'd, of course, have the Brigida to further enable your flankers, primarily like the Tracer in this case, providing that extra armor so she doesn't just get, you know, one shot essentially. So, you know, more than likely we'll get back to that prior iteration of what we saw in the early go-wins, and then it's just a matter of, okay, who's gonna get banned at that point? But of course, that leads into the whole discussion of, well, when are we actually going to see this hero pool? Because we did get a pretty major update earlier today from Activision Blizzard, who had announced that the upcoming Overwatch League home set events in March and April have been canceled due to the concerns about the spread of the coronavirus. Now, for those that haven't been, like, keeping tabs on, like, the daily updates, the coronavirus has hit that pandemic level. They announced that earlier today. And, you know, they sent out, like, a tweet on, like, the Overwatch League Twitter, and then you had the Activision Blizzard esports CEO, Pete Vlastelica, clarifying basically what this means for the league moving forward. And he says, and I quote, "To be clear, we will be playing matches in March and April. We canceled the events, not the matches, though we will have to move a few things around in the schedule to make this work." Now, you said you were looking at the schedule, and the homestand events from this current week, which is week 6, all the way through week 12, are like completely gone from the schedule. So those would include series in Florida, Atlanta, London, San Francisco, Washington, Dallas, Paris, Toronto, LA, and Boston. That's a lot of stuff, a lot of teams impacted by this. And it's just a matter of, well, what is the next step? So, obviously, we know that the teams are going to be playing in March, April, and beyond, and the matches are still going to be broadcast. Now, looking at how some of the other, like, traditional sports or other esports have been doing it, Ed, like, we know that, like, the NBA or XFL have said, like, well, we'll just play in an empty arena. We've also seen other esports titles saying, like, okay, like, that's an option, but we can just move strictly to online only. And, right now, we're just waiting for an update. We currently do not know the status of Week 6. We don't know whether or not we're going to have matches for this current weekend that would have been held in Florida. We still don't know what exactly is going to happen with the Chengdu Hunters either, who are still in China. There are so many unknowns, but hopefully by the end of the week, they can sort the scheduling out, and then we could potentially start to see some additional play, even when it comes to some of the Pacific teams who we have not had an opportunity to see as of yet.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when they first put this out, everyone's like, shit, they're canceling all the games.
Yeah, we're like,
because
we're taking 2 months off.
Like, they did not say that they were not going to make up the games. They just said, we're canceling the homestands.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. Nothing about the actual games themselves. We're just like, all right, dude. And then Pete came out and said all that stuff, which good he did. But I don't know if they know if they're going to play this weekend. Now, this one is a little bit easier because maybe all the teams were already in Florida. I would assume they're already all in Florida. So maybe they can just... I mean, they're not generally flying out there on Thursday or Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they fly out Monday, or they flew out yesterday. So maybe they're all down there, so they could just play the games there. Maybe it's just as simple as that for this week. We don't know. But we have no idea what's going on with the games. They said they're going to try and reschedule the games to as close as possible to their original date that they were supposed to play.
Yeah.
That's fine and dandy, but that leaves a broad range.
It does.
We're going to try and do this. Well, shit. Like, that is not very comforting.
Yeah.
Now, they had to do this. They did. I seriously think that they wish that the Blizzard Arena wasn't already knocked down, because I think they would like nothing more than to just say, all teams get to LA, we're just gonna play it in the Blizzard Arena empty, and just go from there. We'll tell it we'll have everyone view it. This way we can get all the matches up, all that stuff. It's one of those things where this is the worst possible season that they could have done. Geolocations, like, completely out of their control. Worst possible scenarios for them.
Yeah, and I have to say, when I saw that press release initially, I was like, oh man, like the fact that they didn't specify just made me feel like, oh, okay, like now they're just trying to severely impact their viewership numbers, because now everyone's going to be under the assumption that there's going to be no Overwatch League for the next 6 weeks. So, like, that really felt like a gut punch. Now, unfortunately, like, we don't have details about what the next step is going to be. Like, if I had to guess, I would assume that there would not be anything for this current week, and then next week we would move to either, like, the online or the crowdless events, like, being held on LAN at, whatever venue. But it's just a matter of, well, this is definitely going to impact like team schedules when it comes to the practice. Well, maybe more teams will get added to the fold, specifically the Pacific. But for now, it's just a matter of, well, what's going to happen to these Korean and Chinese teams, and then where are these matches actually going to get played? Because I have a feeling when it comes to the whole online versus LAN discussion, people at the end of the day are always going to prefer that matches are going to get played regardless of how they're played. But then you also have to factor in, well, if it is online only, there are a lot of other things that contribute to the competitive, like, integrity and just quality of the games that wouldn't be as controlled as it would be in a LAN sort of environment. So it could go one of two ways. But it's just like, for now, we're just kind of like sitting on our hands, wondering what the next measures are going to be. But you can't fault the Overwatch League for any of this.
No.
Obviously, there have been a ton of major events across the globe getting canceled. This has impacted other esports, leagues, other tournaments. Like South by Southwest was canceled. E3 was canceled. Coachella got pushed back to, like, the fall. There's a lot of stuff that is basically just been shutting down. Like, Twitch had, like, another TwitchCon in Europe that I'm pretty sure was canceled as well. So there's, like, so many things all happening at once. So
EA canceled their, like, the FIFA and Apex World Championships.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's insane. Now, call me crazy, and I know
You're
there's
crazy.
probably a shit more logistics into it than this, but what if they just push the season back 2 months?
I feel like that would be the last resort.
But wouldn't that be the best thing for the league? So here, like, all right, so here's my thinking. Not, like, start up again in May 1st or whatever, and keep all those homestands the same. Then turn around and add the homestands that we were supposed to have to the end, if those venues are still available to play at. And then have the championships after that. But no, because they would have had to book out the championship arena and stuff like that far in advance. Like, wherever they have the... yeah, that wouldn't work. Oh, that sucks.
Right.
Yeah, God, I don't know. There's no good answer to this.
No,
except getting them all into one room, and or, like, all into one arena, and just playing games for, like, a couple of days. Because if they can get them all into the same city and go that route, then I think they're golden. But yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, and on the other hand too, this could just be a week-to-week basis development, essentially. Like, obviously things can change in a matter of a heartbeat when it comes to the whole pandemic that's going on right now. So what we're dealing with this week is going to be drastically different than what we're probably going to be seeing in the week ahead, or like a month down the line at this point. And like, it's a really crappy spot to be in, but hopefully we'll be able to get these matches scheduled. But just knowing that they're having to shuffle things around a lot, I think it's a safer bet to just say outright, the likelihood of games being played this week are severely low compared to what they would have been.
Yeah. I think this week they should just take the week off. Because it's not like we have that much that like it's not like we don't have a shitload already to catch up.
Mhm.
Just take this week and figure shit.
Yeah, and
Like
then
that's just what they need to do.
if you have an itch to watch competitive Overwatch, go support Tier 2. We have
Crazy.
contenders going on right now, actually. I mean, granted, it's the finals for South America. Maybe not too many people or our listeners are going to want to watch the South America finals. But, you know,
What?
you have the Korea trials going on. You also have Europe, who's in the semifinals as well. And then, of course, we have semis for North America. Which, by the way, Ed, I don't know if you know this, but Maryville actually rebranded to Saints. And they are in the semifinals, so Collegiate Esports alive and well in Contenders North America, and they're going up against Team Envy on Thursday in the semifinals. So that's going to be very interesting to see how they're going to perform on that note. So, you know, hopefully, you know, this is going to turn more eyes to Tier 2 as a whole. And as a quick side note, they did get to the semifinals by 3-0 ATL Academy.
Oh,
Our boy
Sugar-Free.
Sugar Free.
We didn't bring up Sugar-Free on the
We
200th
we
episode.
didn't.
Oh. Wait, aren't we? Isn't this supposed to be our last episode? Aren't we doing 201 and done? Isn't that what we're supposed to be
Well,
doing?
see, here's the thing. If we didn't have that update of, oh, there's no Overwatch League for the next 2 months, then we
could've-
could have easily done it. But at this point, it's just, well, I think...
Stupid Overwatch League had to just throw a wrench in our whole plan. Thanks a lot, J-holes.
But on that note, you know, I want to say we got like 3 bingos off the bingo cards, so I will be putting up the giveaway tweet probably tomorrow, and that will probably run through the end of the month to give people plenty of time on that. So let you know what we're giving away in the tweet, all of that good stuff. But you know, it's just like I don't know what else to talk about. Like, it's a shorter show this week, primarily because like we're still waiting on these development updates. Maybe we'll hear something within the next few days, but I don't really want to like preview matches that we don't know are happening this week when we could just
Exactly.
be preview them next Wednesday.
Yeah, because we were just like, well, what do we talk about? Like, yeah, it's one of those awkward things. You're just like, all right, I guess we'll talk about this. Sure. But like, if we wouldn't have talked about this, if this wouldn't have come up, we would have gone about the games and then, you know, it would have been the same show.
Essentially, yeah, back to back.
Back to back. So, I mean, I'm glad we got this before our show tonight. Like, they would have announced this tomorrow. We would have been like, awkward.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just like we could have gone over the show. We didn't go, as you can tell, we didn't go over the games this past week, because one, me and Tom didn't really truly watch them. So,
Well, not all of them.
not all of them. So we couldn't really go in depth on those. But there are so few matches being played nowadays. It's kind of becoming a joke. Like, we haven't seen half the league in 5 weeks or more. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is insane. So crazy.
Yeah, and
So-
we still don't know when we're going to see Soul at this point, too.
Right? Like, some of the teams we are most excited about. You know, the Spark. Love the Spark. You know, Soul Dynasty. The Superpower. Everyone's favorite, the Chengdu Hunters. Guangzhou Charge. People love Nero. So, like, having Nero on there. You know, we haven't seen them. We've seen the Shock once, I
Mhm.
think. We've seen the Titans once. We've seen the Gladiators once, the Valiant once. We've seen the Fusion for half their matches. It
Yeah.
seems like that. It seems like we've seen half of the Fusion's matches.
Yeah, basically it's been New York, Philadelphia, Paris,
Washington,
Houston.
Florida.
Florida's been in 5. I was looking at like 6 and above at this
Oh,
point.
6 and above. All right.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have 1 from the defending champions, 1 from the other team in the championship game. It's crazy. Crazy, I tell you, crazy. But hopefully we get, when they announce the schedules or what they're going to do, they have a broader range of what they're going to do with like some of these Chinese teams.
Right.
You know,
And hopefully that will come within the next couple of days. And then we'll update you via social media when that does happen.
Yeah.
But you know,
Chengdu's the big one.
Mhm.
Because right now, even if they could come, like if they do want to reschedule in the United States, right now they're not allowed to.
Right.
Because we have the travel ban.
That might have to come down to online only in that case for Chengdu.
I did hear, I can't remember which Discord or Twitter I saw, or Reddit, or whatever the hell I was reading today. That was a decent idea, is kind of having 2 geolocations.
Okay.
Like setting one up somewhere in Asia, like maybe even in South Korea or something like that, where those teams can get together and play, whether it be LAN or online, because it would be unfair to have the Hunters play online from China to the US on a US server, let's say. That's just unfair. So do that and then set one up in the US, because all the rest of the teams are in the US right now. So who knows? I like everything we're thinking of right now is wrong, because logistically it just doesn't work. So we'll find out more by Saturday, I hope.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so I guess with that being said, we should probably, call it early tonight. And hopefully we'll have more stuff going on in the upcoming week with additional updates. I'm going to actually do a preview of whatever matches are going to take place at that point. So if you guys want to help us out, the best thing to do is to head over to iTunes and write us a review. Let us know how we're doing. We are always looking for new ways to improve the show. If you are looking for additional Overwatch content, be sure to check out Overwatch Recall on our website, which has a listing of Overwatch, Overwatch League, Path to Pro, and Fantasy Overwatch League podcasts. And then every Sunday night, we do the Weekly Recall, which is basically an episodic listing of all the prior week's episodes, all in one nice location. So to keep up to date on the podcast scene for Overwatch, be sure to follow Recall on Twitter at OWRecall. Now, if you would like to support our podcast, you can do so 2 different ways. Primarily, you can show up to, our Twitch streams, throw us your Twitch Prime subs, which costs you absolutely nothing. If you don't want to do that, well, you could subscribe the normal way on Twitch at, $5. And, if $5 is, too much, and you're just throwing to, throw a bone, we do have a cheaper option on Patreon, where we have tiers starting at just $1 a month. So
where we will be having our Patreon only episode of live talk through of a Goofy movie.
I feel like we just need to start I don't even know if we could even post that stuff on YouTube.
I don't think we can show the video.
We can only do the commentary.
Yes, we can do commentary. We cannot have the video up, because that will get taken down quicker than I was going to say something real dirty.
Well, anyways,
awkward.
Our Patreon can be found at patreon.com/OWL Network. So you too can join the likes of our master and above patrons, Daniel, Owl, Kesha, Agent Life, and 044 in helping our network grow. So thank you guys again for your contributions and, help paying for, a good amount of the libs and hosting, which does rack up since we are a podcast network. So with that being said, Ed, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners know how they can contact our show?
Okay. I'm going to try not to cough or sniffle too much through this. So you can reach us through email at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. We are over on Twitter, and that's at hndoverwatch. We do have a website where we post everything, and that's www.owlnshow.com. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. We do have a Discord that you can come join us on at discord.me/OWLNshow. We are streaming live on Twitch at twitch.tv/OWLshow. So we are Twitch affiliate. Help support the show by subscribing to our channel and earn our network emoticon. Our podcast network does stream pretty regularly. So Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific, we have the Overwatch League Network. Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, we have OWL by the numbers. Maybe? We don't know.
I mean, you could technically have said that about the first one, too.
True. But OWL by the numbers is kind of Overwatch League, generated. You need the stats from the Overwatch League to do the fantasy. But then you have the true tryhard, Heroes Never Die, who's not going anywhere because we cover everything Overwatch. And we air Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. You can follow me, Edinar, on Twitter at Ednar Overwatch, or over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Ednar, where this Saturday I continue my playthrough of Star Wars Fallen Order, where you can come and laugh at me, not know anything. Oh god, it's brutal. So I had Spider and my friend Kurabaras and stuff in chat being like, duh, it's over here. I'm like, how am I supposed to know this?
Right.
There was one part, Spider's like, oh, don't you see the ramp over there? No, I've never played this game before. Why would I think to look over the cliff and down the cliff trying to figure out a way? God damn it, Spider, shut up. So tune into that. It's fun because Ednar gets real drunk and plays it. So you can come over there. Totem, where can they find you at?
Well, you can find me over on Twitter at TotallyDrunkCTR. And then when I do stream, that will be on Twitch at twitch.tv/TotallyDrunk. So with that being said, guys, I do want to thank you again for joining us on another episode of Heroes Never Die. This has been episode number 201. That's
not 201 and done.
No. We'll keep them in suspense, and then we'll just pull it randomly some other time. They just won't know when it's gonna hit them.
202. Wait, no, spoiled. Damn it.
Back to the drawing board we go, just like the Overwatch League planned when it comes to the schedule. So take care, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out, y'all.